She stood at the back of the grand dining hall, the chandeliers flickering like stars in a fading sky, and watched as the woman she'd once called mentor, the towering figure of corporate power, leaned back in her chair and smirked. Her eyes flicked toward the small waiter carrying a tray of half-empty wine glasses, and the words came out slow, deliberate. "Honestly, he looks like a street beggar. Why even bother with him at events like this?" A hush fell over the table. Glasses paused mid-lift, and the waiter froze for a moment, the color draining from his face. He held the tray steady, but every eye in that opulent room was on him now. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and that every human being has a value beyond their outward appearance, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel now. The waiter's name was Samir, and his path to that moment had been anything but smooth. Born in a small village on the outskirts of Karachi, he had watched his father haul crates in the blazing sun and his mother stitch garments by lamplight. They lived on a single-room tin-roof house, and when Samir was 14, he began delivering newspapers before dawn to help pay for his younger sister's school fees. Through grit and a stubborn hope, he saved enough to come to the city and he found work, anything he could, until one day he stumbled into dinner service at this very high-end hotel. It was a position far from his dreams of becoming an engineer, but he took it with gratitude. For in those elegant dining rooms he could carry trays, learn manners, absorb the rhythm of service, and most importantly, he held his head high even when the world looked down. That evening, the banquet had been organized by the CEO, her name was Maya Khan, the woman whose sarcasm had pierced the air. She was sleek, in a tailored black suit, with a voice that commanded attention and a gaze that measured people like inventory on a spreadsheet. Maya often came to these events to network and remind the industry that she didn't settle for less. She expected loyalty, performance, and perfection, and when things didn't measure up, she made sure the whole room knew. Tonight she was flanked by her assistant, a quiet young woman named Aisha, whose eyes flicked nervously between Maya and the dinner guests. Unknown to Maya, though, Aisha watched Samir for days, the way he carefully arranged each plate, the genuine smile he gave even when the tip was meager, the way he lingered just a moment longer at each table to say, "Thank you," with sincerity. As Maya's biting remark registered, a murmur ran through the guests. Samir's back straightened. The tray in his hand shook a little, but he didn't drop anything. He turned his head and walked away, forced a polite nod, and made his way back into the bustling kitchen corridor. His heart pounded. The insult burned, but what stung more was the idea that his years of hard work, his hope, his dignity, were all judged by a moment of appearance. In the days following, Samir carried that insult like a heavy weight in his chest. The hotel corridors seemed longer, the cleaning cloth heavier in his hand. He questioned whether the work he did mattered. He thought of returning to his village. He thought of giving up the dreams of his sister's schooling. But every morning he rose, put on his coat, pressed his collar, and stepped into the hall for the breakfast shift with the same humble determination. He remembered his mother's words. "Your value is not what people see at first glance, my son. It is in what you give that cannot be taken from you." Meanwhile, Maya returned to her world of board meetings and high-stakes deals. To her, Samir had been just another waiter, another face in the background. But as she looked at the numbers and presentations, there was a nagging thought, something about how smoothly the event had gone, how unexpectedly warm the guest feedback was. She asked Aisha later, "Who handled the service tonight?" Aisha hesitated, then said softly, "It was mostly him." The newcomer waiter, Samir. Maya frowned, brushed the mention aside. She didn't think a hotel waiter mattered enough to remember. On a rainy Thursday morning, a breakdown happened. The engine of the main convention room elevator gave out mid-service. Guests were stranded, waiters were stuck, and the banquet started to lurch into chaos. Plates piled up, water glasses overflowed, voices rose. In that hour, Samir didn't wait for instruction. He grabbed trays, helped fellow waiters, directed guests to alternate elevators, made sure someone brought chocolate cakes to children stuck in the room. He carried more than dishes, he carried calm. His hands were swift, his heart steady. Aisha watched from the side corridor, his face lit with urgency, not panic. The guests barely noticed that anything had gone wrong. Maya's eyes flicked around the room, saw her assistant's signal, and then she looked at Samir. Something shifted. Afterwards, Maya called Aisha into her office and asked, "Who is that waiter?" Aisha hesitated because she knew what Maya had said at the dinner table, and then whispered, "That's him, ma'am. The one you mocked." Silence filled the corner of the room. Maya's lips parted. She sat heavy in her chair, letting the words sink. It was as though her world tilted. The man she dismissed as beneath her had quietly saved her event, and in that moment her assumptions cracked. She saw not a lowly waiter, but someone with integrity, with heart, with unrecognized talent. Maya decided to follow up. She asked Aisha to bring Samir to her office after work. Samir came in, tray still freshly polished in his hands out of habit, his eyes polite but tired. Maya stared at him, the boss, the figure of authority. "I owe you an apology," she said, voice trembling a little. "I judged you unfairly. You proved tonight that you can lead, that you care. I want to offer you a position in our event coordination team, a chance to show what you're capable of." Samir felt shock and relief. He swallowed, held back tears, and nodded. He thought of his mother, his father, his sister. He thought of the morning newspapers, the hot sun, the long roads. And he thought of moments like these where a single opportunity can change everything. But the challenges were not over. The transition from waiter to coordinator wasn't smooth. Some colleagues looked at him sideways. "Oh, that waiter who got lucky." Others whispered that Maya was being charitable, that he didn't belong. Samir had no formal degree, no list of prior corporate achievements. He had only grit, humility, and a deep desire to prove himself. And so he worked double hard. He arrived early, stayed late. He remembered every guest's name, every preference. He fought through meetings where technical jargon felt foreign. He made mistakes. One time a drink order got delayed, one time the seating chart was mismatched. He thought of quitting. But he remembered the tin roof home, the tiny room, his father's worn hands, his sister's hopeful eyes. He refused to let them down. Maya watched him. Slowly she shifted. What began as a project of goodwill became genuine respect. Together they planned a charity gala for local underserved youth. Samir designed the layout, the schedule, the guest welcome packages. He used his background, his familiarity with humble beginnings, to make the event accessible, meaningful, not just flashy. He invited children from his village, gave them tours of the hotel, dinners in the grand hall. He walked those kids through the same corridors where he once carried plates, explaining that they too could stand here one day. At the night of the charity gala, Maya stood by the back entrance, looking into the hall. The room gleamed with gold and white, but the real shine was in the children's faces, eyes bright, hearts open. Then the big moment arrived. One of the little girls, shy but radiant, stood up to speak. She said, "When I grow up, I want to walk into a place like this and think I belong." The hall grew quiet. Maya glanced at Samir. He looked at her with a small, humble nod. Maya realized that his story had grown into something more powerful, a story of dignity, of resilience, of hope. When the gala ended, as the final guest left and the lights dimmed, Maya pulled Samir aside. "You changed this night," she said, "and I think you will change many more." Samir smiled. He thought of the waiter he had been, carrying wine glasses with his back straight and his heart full. He thought of the CEO who mocked him, then offered him a chance. He thought of his parents back home and the sister who would soon enter university because of his income. Then came the twist of fate, not grand, not cinematic in the way of silver screens, but real. Maya revealed to Samir that she had grown up with a similar story, of a mother who scrapped to feed children, of early jobs waiting tables and cleaning office floors. She had hidden it, moved fast, changed names, climbed ladders. She had forgotten something along the way: humility, empathy, the idea that every person has a story. And in meeting Samir, she remembered. Her mocking comment still haunted her. But what she felt now was gratitude, growth, transformation. For Samir, the job meant more than a new title. It meant redemption. The job gave him financial relief, but deeper still, it gave him recognition, purpose, and a platform to lift others. He established a small foundation alongside the hotel's CSR team to support education for children in his village. He visited home more often. He took his mother out for dinner, not as a guest, but as someone who belonged in the place she built in his imagination. He took his father to see the hotel ballroom where he once carried trays. He told his sister, "This is for you," and she believed him. The final scene. On a quiet Monday morning, layers of dawn light creeping through the hotel's glass atrium, Samir stands at the registration desk of a major conference. His badge reads Event Coordinator. He looks polished, confident, but inside his chest is the same beat of hope and humility he carried since delivering newspapers at sunrise. A guest approaches anxious. "We've got a seating problem." Samir smiles, helps them calmly, and leads them inside. The guest says, "Thank you." And Samir says, "You're welcome. I'm glad you're here." He doesn't hear the mocking voice anymore. He doesn't carry the shame. He carries something much stronger. In that moment, a soft tap on his shoulder. He looks up. It's Maya. She's holding a printed copy of the Gala Remainder Report, a glowing summary. She gives him a nod, and for the first time in months, all the tension between them dissolves. They stand together for a heartbeat side by side. In that grand lobby, she in her impeccable suit. He in his modest but sharp attire, and the camera of life catches them not as boss and subordinate, but as two people changed by kindness, second chances, and a shared vision. If this story touched your heart, please hit like. Comment with the one message you'll carry into your day. Share this video with someone who needs hope. And subscribe for more stories of transformation and humanity. Comment below. Tell me who in your life surprised you by their strength and humbled you by their kindness. Thank you for watching and for being part of a world where everyone deserves dignity and recognition.